Welcome back to Simon Says. Let's talk real estate, life, and community. Hi, Grace.
Hey Jade, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Awesome. So I know today we are going to dig into downsizing to maximize wealth and the power of making a shift. Where do you want to begin?
Something that I'm very excited for, and looking forward to our discussion and where this conversation is going to lead. I love making shifts in life and in business and family and in the journey that we go through different stages of life. There has to be shifts, or there should be shifts, because when a shift comes, then there's energy, right? That means that there's motion and we don't become stagnant. And it keeps our vitality when there's shifts in our life, positive shifts happening.
Mm-hmm. And I know you're going through a big shift in your life right now, hence why it's a little bit plain behind you. You're packing up your home.
Yes, and you know what, Jade? It's so exciting because I was reflecting, on the topic that we're going to be talking about today, downsizing to maximize your wealth. And it was just a year ago that I put together a downsizing to maximize your wealth event, because I had put the idea, in our families, in our mindset of, I'm 46, my husband's turning 50. We need to make some changes because we're in the greatest time of our life for moving forward as much as we can through our business, and thinking about, really building healthy wealth streams at this time of our life. What does it look? What does the second half of our life look like? What do we want? And so, we made the decision that we wanted to sell our large home, our family home. It's 4,300 square feet plus the basement. We have 6 bedrooms and umpteen bathrooms. And it's just a lot of house. And so the expense there every month is pretty high, and we could be putting that, that money into other places. And so we want to travel, we want to enjoy our family, create experiences for our family, and also be contributors to our community. So we made the decision that we were going to downsize our home and move forward. So I put this event together last year in the hopes of trying to rally other people like us to see if other people had similar ideas. And sometimes, you got to be willing to jump into the waters to have a testimony of how that works and what the effects are. So we've gone through the process of listing and selling our home successfully. And that was a great process because, that's what I do for a living. So it was a success for my own home, my own family. And now we're in that venture of closing day coming and looking for a home to purchase that will meet the itinerary of what it is that we're trying to achieve moving forward.
Right. And so I understand, when you're downsizing, you have the opportunity for lower bills, lower taxes, potentially finding somewhere that's maintenance free, which will save you time and, money in other areas. Is there anything else that really helps you save in this move other than the obvious things I mentioned?
Yeah, and those are, those obvious things that you just mentioned are really the reason and the driver to what we're doing. But it's also just, time is something that takes away when you have a bigger, larger home. There's so much time that you have to put in for maintaining a large property, cleaning the home. So that's also, it costs you more for cleaning later for a larger home. It takes you a longer time to keep yourself organized in a larger home, and the maintenance outside that my husband would take. He really loves his gardening. He loves taking care of the pool. He has really, really enjoyed that. But that's all time. So we're really also looking to maximize our time and minimize the efforts of what it takes to keep our house clean and maintaining our yards, because we're moving into that place where we'd like to travel. We'd like to not be anchored so much into our home, so that it allows us to do a lot more exploring and create experiences again for us as a couple and our family as it grows.
Right, because it's when you downsize, more likely than not, you're also going to have equity to play with. which, opens up investments, travel. So that's really exciting. It's like free money. Woo!
And that's exactly it. We're really trying to do our best in leveraging what we have. So our idea is if we purchase for a lot less, bringing our mortgage down to nothing or minimal, that we can leverage the equity that we do have in purchasing investment properties. And so that's what we're going to be. That is our goal. That our next step goal is that we will use that extra money, extra income to purchase investment properties, whether it's commercial or residential. We're looking for the opportunities, and as you look for those opportunities, then they start to present themselves to you, and that's very exciting.
Absolutely. So I assume, you've gotten used to living in a larger home over the years. What are the challenges in trying to find something smaller that still suits your lifestyle and, covers your bases in terms of what you want in terms of a living space? Is there anything you feel like, oh man, we have to kind of let this go that we've had for so long, or things like that?
Well, I'm focusing on the bigger picture, the bigger goal, that this is what we're looking for is not our forever home. It's a means to an end, that we will have probably the more, home that attracts us, that will be long-term on the next purchase. This one here is just really getting us into that next step of where we want to be, that we can bank as much cash as we can. So it's kind of our mid-step. And so that's what I would, that's what I would say to people taking that risk, because it really doesn't make sense to a lot of people around us, because most people like to play it safe and they don't like change, and they come up with a lot more reasons why not to instead of trying it out. And so I have to say, go with what you want for your life. Know your numbers, have a strategy, but have the big picture, that big goal in mind, because that's really what's going to keep you moving forward. Because if you listen to other people's opinions, or you set your sights on what should be there immediately, then you could get discouraged. But if you think about the bigger picture of where you're heading, that keeps your excitement, that keeps your hope, that keeps your faith moving forward. So as my husband was leaving this morning, I just went out to him and said, "Honey, aren't you excited today?" He's like, "Oh yeah, really exciting." Like it does bring anxious moments for sure when you're packing everything up and you're leaving a place that is very comfortable, that you've really enjoyed, you have lots of memories, and you don't know exactly what the next step is. It can be, definitely bring up some anxiety and bring, an insurance. But, when you're in a good relationship and you're got some great plans in place for the future, that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you moving ahead. So we're very much trying to keep our eyes set on the goal, and that's our ultimate goal, is cash in our account to do what we want to do in our life.
So what's the right time? Like, let's say you're thinking about downsizing, but you're not sure. What's the right time to engage with the real estate agent? Is it right at the very beginning where the agent can help you kind of look at the numbers and talk to you about options, or do you have to kind of have that kind of figured out before you engage?
I love to engage in conversation right when the thought comes, right? Because then you start to put energy into it, and where you put your energy, where you start to put your mindset, that's what grows. And so whenever you're thinking about the idea, is it a good time to sell or not? Let's talk, right? Because I'm not the realtor that if you have an idea about moving, then I'm going to get you moving right away. It really, absolutely needs to make sense where your kids are at, where your family life is at, where you're working, what's your commute that's happening. Like, all that does need to be in alignment, because it doesn't make sense if you have a job downtown and you're thinking, I'm going to downsize, and you are you're having to purchase somewhere that is going to extend your commute, then that's not necessarily going to be the right choice for you, or the better choice for you, because it's going to take away time, and time is something that you can't get back. And time is definitely something that'll take away from your enjoyment of life. And so you really want to measure that out. So I really love to have that conversation with my clients about what it is that you're looking for. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? You know, what do we need to do? What do you need to do to make that happen? How can I help you, you know, attract the areas that you're looking for? Like, community to me is everything. So if you are looking to change communities and you're doing an extreme shift in your life of changing community, changing home, downsizing everything, and being willing to move, what does that look like? And it's really, again, so important that you have a clear picture of what it is that you're moving towards. Because if you don't have that clear picture of where you are moving towards, then you could really get off track. Anxiety can set in, and you'll stop dead in your tracks. So it is really, really important to have a clear picture, in mind. So whenever you get an idea, let's have a conversation about it. And it may or may not be, the right time of life to make that change, that shift.
Well, it sounds like a really exciting time to engage in your imagination and pull up the vision boards and, kind of create the life that you want to shift into, and pull a lot of power into that process.
Exactly. If you do not create your future, then you're allowing everything else to create it for you. So if you don't create something great for yourself, what everybody else has in mind for you may not be that great. So it's really important to really have a direction for your life and know where you want to head. Like, I believe that everybody has a purpose and has a time on earth, to achieve something and do something, but it doesn't just happen. And so, whether you're a friend or family or my kids, just continually remind people that it's really, really important to have an idea of what you want to create for your life. What do you want it to look like? How do you want to finish well? Do you want to finish well? Does it matter to you? Mm-hmm. And I think if we thought about it a little bit more, then we'd see a lot more people living their life fully. That you hear that a lot, right? Live your life fully. You're fully alive. Live your best life. Well, what does that mean to you? Not what it means to other people, but what does it mean to you? Like, can you close your eyes and can you see yourself in that moment of, just feeling full of peace, lots of joy? What does that look like? Does that look like having your kids around? Does it look like traveling around the world? Does it look like being out on the golf course many times a week? Can you smell the air? What does the surrounding scenery look like? Do you want a house on the water? Are you going to boat? How big is that lake when you look out on it? What kind of view do you want? Like, it's so important to get very specific about your future, of what you want that future to look like. Because as you create it, then it starts to build itself. And I find that just such an important thing to try to express to people, because I think we would see a lot more happier people living out their lives well if they took the time to really create that and put motion to it and take some risks to make that happen. Because everybody's lives are very different. So some people are successful entrepreneurs and they can buy whatever they want. But there's people that have never known success. They've never seen success. They've never had it modeled for them. Mm-hmm. So that can be, a greater journey for them. And so it's really important to be in touch with, whether it's your financial advisor or your realtor or your good friend that has gone further, that, believes for bigger and wants to mentor, their clients or their friends into those new ideas, to those new mindsets. Because I believe that anything is impossible and people can achieve the impossible if they're willing to learn and to grow in that. So as a realtor, as a realtor that loves authentic relationships, that's part of the thing that I like to build with my clients, whether it's your first home or it's your retirement home, that there's motion to it, that you're creating the life that you desire for it, that you're not just like flipping a coin and picking a community and let's see how this works out. Why don't we explore it a little bit more? To have the bistros that you see yourself sitting out on the patio and having, an afternoon cocktail or enjoying, a nice lunch out with friends. So to have, the golf courses that you look forward to enjoying and being able to attend, that's, in close proximity, that you don't have to drive too far to, or, whatever it is, you like to do mountain climbing. Well, are there any mountains nearby? If it's an hour and a half away from where you live, then you're probably not going to get out there very often. So, you know, if you want to move towards those mountains, what are the possibility of that happening? Like, what kind of adjustments do you need to make so that you know that you're moving towards the place that you desire for your life?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That was good. Thank you. It was inspiring. I'm like thinking in my head, oh, I should probably do this process myself.
I'll take you through it. It's so exciting. I have my visual board. You know, I made my vision board at the beginning of the year. I never have done a vision board before. And it is just, it's very, very powerful. You know, visualizing and creating and absolutely putting it on the wall that you're seeing it over and over again. And, you know, just creating those spaces in your mind and looking for those opportunities. It's absolutely remarkable to see what happens, what can happen when you set your mind towards that. And, you know, and even in the midst of COVID, you know, I did my vision board and I'm like, oh, great. I did this vision board and my expectations for the year. Now what? Now what? Nothing. Like that I want to create for my life still keeps going despite COVID. Unless I've caught in COVID and I'm dying and not going to be very long, then that's a different picture. But I'm healthy and my family's healthy and we're able, you know, business has been really great and we're moving forward to that motion. So if I didn't have that, then I wouldn't have the reminder of what it is that I have set myself up. So even if it's moving a few months back from what I had planned for, that's still in motion. I'm still creating that. So I find it really exciting. You want to hear a really cool story, Jay?
Yeah.
Last year, my daughter got married last June. And I remember just family coming and getting ready for the wedding. And, you know, you're putting your money out for this wedding and it's all good. But just thinking about, you know, we still have this house. We've been talking this for a few years. So I put it out there to my husband. I said, you know what, we're going to sell this house and we're going to have a closing for August 28th. And this was like I think it was at the end of May last year. And, you know, the wedding came and time went and we're like, my husband's like, nope, I'm not ready to go through this process this year. I said, okay, that's fine. But I didn't throw out that date of August 28th. Coming, you know, the fall, the winter, we made the definite decision that next summer was going to be the spring or summer that we were going to sell our house. So we listed and sold our house, had a closing of September 28th.
Okay.
First they wanted October 28th and they moved it to September 28th. But I still had that lagging date of August 28th in the back of my mind. I wasn't thinking about it, but it was still back there at my subconscious level, just coming to my conscious level every so often. And we were away a couple weekends ago at a friend's cottage. And didn't you know, I got a phone call and it was the buyer agent asking if we could move our closing to August 28th.
No way.
No. And I was like, really? Isn't that interesting? Well, I asked my husband, and again, my husband said, no way, we're not closing August 28th. And so we changed it, but it's not August 28th, but that doesn't really matter. That we're closing, it got moved to September 8th. And so it didn't really matter what the actual end date was. It was the fact that that date came to surface. And it was something that I put out there, that I made a declaration for, and I kept it, you know, at my conscious and subconscious level, and, you know, allowed it to grow, allowed it to, you know, to gravitate to, you know, for energy towards it. And it actually happened. So whether we chose it or not, it actually came to August 28th. And so that was really cool. And I've really found that is such a helpful thing. Again, creating something, declaring it out, and moving towards it, you will see your goals happen. You will see, you know.
Well, yeah. And just those little confirmations that it does work like that, like August 28th. It's easy with numbers and dates because then you can actually remember them and plot them, and you know, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. So we have not found a house yet. And we're putting our furniture and that in pods and storage. But I'm not anxious about it because I know that the right house is going to present itself, the right opportunity. I'm a person of faith, so I believe, in praying and just trusting God in it. And I just leave it at that, right? I can't do anything more than that. I've done what I can, and we're in a good place. We're not in any kind of worry or concern other than we don't know where we're going to be living next. We have a place moving in with my parents for a couple months, and just even taking that in, that it's special time to have with my parents. And it's an opportunity to bank some more money and wait for the right house instead of making a irrational decision, jumping into something that is negative for our family. So if you look at everything as an opportunity, instead of, we can get into this poverty mindset that causes us to worry and being anxious with the next step. And I just refuse that. So any kind of negative thought that comes to my mind, I silence and push it out immediately and keep my eyes focused on the goal. So the goal is to maximize our wealth, and that's what we're moving towards.
Awesome. I have one last question.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for a downsized home, is there any issues that can come in just around the idea of people flipping homes? Is there any cautions or anything I guess just anything for people to look out for when they're looking for a home that's smaller than what they're used to? Can you run into any of this kind of stuff?
There's always going to be adjustment for downsizing when you're used to home. The first thing is to get rid of as much stuff as you possibly can. So it goes, don't get rid of as much as you can, then there is that problem of not being able to fit everything in, or you've paid too much money for storage for stuff that you don't need. But as far as downsizing and purchasing a flipper or purchasing to flip, is the question to, you're purchasing one that had been flipped, that had been traded and sold?
Yeah, so I guess my question is, are there any concerns that a home is being flipped by the seller?
I always have concerns about that because of the TV programs, Love It or List It, and these shows that look just very romantic, right? Of the idea of purchasing a home for, a very low price, going in and making some changes and selling to produce income. It's great if the contractor is very well skilled and knows his numbers and knows what he's doing. But what has happened in the recent past of the past 10 years, people are watching these programs and think they're handy and need to make some quick cash. And so they go in and they cut corners, and it can be definitely a nightmare. So my instruction, my guidance, my caution in that is to make sure that you have a home inspection done, because when things look really pretty, we don't know if there's any kind of underlying issues. And so I kind of have a sniff when I go into a home. I look into the corners and I just look at the finishing touches. If the finishing touches throw me any flags or send any alarms off, then I'm definitely recommending a home inspection and look a bit deeper. Whether, if I notice that the finishes aren't well, then I'll look closer into the cabinets. I'll get down on my knees and I'll look underneath if there's an alarm going off, because that can be a bad experience when something is looking very, very pretty, well put together, and that it's been flipped, that the owner hasn't had it for very long. If he purchased it in the spring and he's selling it in the fall, or a couple months after purchasing it, then that would be a red flag for me. To find out who it was that owned it, if he had a contracting company, if he's a contractor, or who did the work. Were there any, did they make sure that they got the permits for the work that was done, if that was needed, and just really making sure you buy. Because if you get into a home and it has not been updated properly, or they didn't get the proper permits, and you're finding that you have some electrical issues, insulation issues, flooding issues, water issues, it can cost you a lot more money. And then, then you're really not fulfilling what you did in the first place in downsizing to maximize your wealth. You'll be out of pocket. A little bit of money that you had from the sale of your home, you'll be putting into another home and not the areas that you wanted to. So yeah, be very careful of that. for sure.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to throw into the mix in regards to this?
Just that, you know what, if this podcast has sparked some interest and ideas of, you know what, we've been thinking about it for a while, downsizing, you know, Grace, I think I need to have a talk with Grace just to see what the market is like, prices, where would I need to go in order for it to make sense for us to downsize, what are the options? Because, you know, it doesn't always work out. I had good clients of mine that we did list their house. They had the idea that they were going to downsize. And once they started looking around to see what they could get for their money, they weren't ready to downsize. And so they decided they're going to finish their basement, put a pool in the backyard, and stay exactly where they're at. And that's fine. They did list their house, and we went through that whole process. And they decided to stay. And so it doesn't always work out for everyone. So look to have that conversation to make sure that you are having a move. I have that conversation to make sure that it's the right move for you.
Right.
Authentic, transparent, you know, transactions are what's important to me. I am the heart to your next real estate transaction. So part of that is just having a conversation. So reach out to me. I'd love to talk about it. I love talking about mindset. I love talking about shifts. I love talking about motion and putting that in your real estate transactions. So
super cool. Well, thanks so much, Grace. And I look forward to speaking with you next time.
Thanks so much, Jade. Thanks for the questions and bringing this topic for discussion today. It's been great.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Have a great week.